giving you some footage or photos of him
Yes.
on campuses?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're done here, we'll go visit with my team, and they can get you some of that if you'd like that.
Okay.
We can just, I just don't want you to worry about that. We'll visit with him, and then I can help you with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's try that again. Name and
My name is John Kuhn. I'm superintendent at Abilene ISD.
I got it working now.
Well, you know, when you turn it on, it does
Yeah,
better.
Yeah, it does. All right.
I can move this paper where you can't see it too.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with having some notes. Okay. All right. So you'll be looking at me. Act like there's no camera pointed at you.
Okay, we'll just have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So first, and welcome to
Thank
Abilene.
you.
This is kind of like your second school year, kind of, because you kind of helped out the.
Got to be here for the end of the last school year. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, yeah. So what are some changes, now that you have a full school year to deal with, what are some changes that you are hoping to bring to the district?
So change started before I got here, honestly. Abilene ISD has a really proud tradition of innovation and trying to create a school district that meets the needs of our families, right? And so before I got here, they had come up with Center for Innovation, which is a 5th grade magnet school on the McMurray campus. They had implemented years ago Holland Medical High School, which is a high school dedicated to medical professions on the Hardin-Simmons campus. We have the LIFT, which is an advanced career and technology education center. We have Adams High School, which is a high school dedicated to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, robotics, really cool stuff. And there are other things too. There are other innovations that have been happening. So I kind of got here in the middle of this district focus on what do we need to do to change and transform. And you know, the way I see it, there's a season and a time for everything. And this is the season of Abilene ISD's transformation. We want to be a district that meets the needs of our constituents, our families, our parents. What do they want? What are their hopes and dreams for the schools that their children will attend? We want to receive that feedback, and we want to respond proactively to that feedback to create a school system that our parents can be proud of, that they can be excited about, that they love, you know. And so I don't think I'm bringing change. I think I'm just helping to facilitate maybe an increase in the pace of change. I think one of the weaknesses, I guess, that I see coming into Abilene is that they've had an appetite for transformation and change, but it's been pretty slow. You know, Holland High School they developed that years and years ago, and so it's been kind of a trickle of change. And in my view, the world has changed rapidly, especially since COVID, and also the competitive environment for schools is different than it was 10 years ago. So we have to be competitive. We have to be hitting our marks as a school district, right? And I think I understand that very well from my experience as a superintendent in other school districts. So I think what I'm bringing is a willingness maybe to push for more and faster innovations and transformation. Also, I'm not really stuck in any ruts that maybe have defined Abilene. I'm not from here. I don't really know the politics or the sacred cows or things that you're not supposed to touch. So I'm kind of willing to touch it all and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I'm not scared of change. You know, I've always been pretty early adopter of technology, and I think, you know, you have to be responsive to the realities of the world. And so there are traditions that are fantastic that you should always hold on to, but there are also traditions that can hold you back. And that applies to schools, it applies to businesses, it applies to families, it applies to everything, right? And so I think I'm able to come in here with a fresh set of eyeballs that you know isn't stuck in old ways here, with a healthy respect for the things that have gone before that have worked. But I think that's probably the biggest asset that I bring is a willingness to be open to new ideas and a big time willingness to listen to feedback from our community. One of the things that happens in schools sometimes is we get internally focused. We worry about, you know, who gets what job and who gets promoted and who's happy and who's not happy on the inside, when in reality our focus should be on, are our customers happy? Do parents see schools that they are really excited to send their kids to? And if we're happy on the inside, but the people on the outside aren't happy, and we're losing enrollment because people are choosing other school districts, then our focus is not in the right place. And so I think that's another strength that I bring, is my focus is way more on the satisfaction of our parents and our students. Are they getting what they want? And if not, we have to be willing to change. And if there are people on the inside who can't change, then they have to go away, and I have to replace them with people who are willing to create the school district that meets the needs of Abilene, Texas.
And we're kind of almost to this quarter mark of the first school year, or this school year. Do you have any like bullet pointed goals that you're trying to meet this school year, or kind of tracking anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got so many goals. We're in the middle of conversations about innovation, so I've really specific goals about our process towards building out a long range planning process. We're in the process right now, but building a long range plan that we can present to the school board that lays out the future of Abilene ISD, that helps us down this path of innovation, but also have more immediate goals like reversing the trend of losing enrollment. You know, I want to throw the brakes on that so we're not losing students, and the way you do that is by being responsive and open to feedback and willing to make changes. Also, you know, I have to address our budget deficit. We have a $12.9 million budget deficit, and I've committed to cutting that in half by next year. So that's a pretty big goal that I'm trying to meet. Our academic performance, quality of instruction in the classroom. I definitely want to address, see positive movement in our student performance on STAR tests and other internal measures of student learning. So I have a lot of goals that are measurable, that are concrete, and that it's like going to the doctor. You want to see your blood pressure get better at your next visit. Well, that's all of those things I just mentioned, and others that I didn't mention. They're measures of the health and vitality of a school district. And so, you know, I kind of keep my eyes on all of those gauges, and I encourage my principals, my executive directors, associate superintendents, everybody in the leadership capacity in the school district. I want them keeping their finger on the pulse of the school district, and being really honest when we see, you know, symptoms that aren't signs of a healthy school district, to say, hey, this is a problem and we can't ignore it. We have to address it. How do we fix it? And one guy can't run a school district this big. You have to have an army of people who are willing to embrace the challenges of leadership, making the hard decisions, being completely honest about what they find. And, you know, that can be uncomfortable for people who are used to kind of doing the same thing year after year after year. And but I'm not going to let us go through the motions. We're going to improve the school district, and we're going to attack every deficiency that we find. And I don't say that because Abilene ISD is not a quality school district. This is a great school district with so much potential. We just have to pick up the pace on positive change.
And one of those changes that we saw in one of the recent school district meetings is that Abilene ISD has over 30 languages represented inside of the district. And of course, that's a great thing for Abilene, but it also comes with some challenges, not having all of those languages represented in faculty and staff. How do you plan to battle that?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you said that is a great thing, because a lot of people will look at a large emergent bilingual population as a deficit, and it's not. It's a strength of our school district. That diversity is a good thing. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that this is God's mission for the school district and me, to receive these students who come from other places, sometimes from really hard situations, and settle here. Our job, our mission is to help these students adapt and be able to live in our society in a productive way. So obviously that includes teaching them the English language, but it also includes acculturation, where they understand the cultural norms here and feel comfortable and can fit in. So a lot of people, I don't know if they know this about me, but I was an English as a second language teacher for my entire teaching career. I taught ESL to kids from pre-K all the way through 12th grade, mostly with native Spanish speakers, but I have had Chinese speakers in my class as well. And I have it's probably my deepest passion when it comes to education is being there for those kids. A lot of times they didn't come here because they chose to. They came here because their parents chose to relocate, or because of situations in their home country that they were trying to escape, in the case of our refugee students, you know. And so I believe in being a welcoming place, and Abilene ISD is a welcoming place to these kids. So I really appreciate you saying that that's a good thing. But it is a challenge. Absolutely, it's a challenge. A lot of times, these students come to us with no English skills whatsoever, and we're starting from ground zero. And the state is very inflexible in the accountability system. We have 1 year, and then these kids have to take the STAR test. And the STAR test, it's not just in English, it's in academic English. It's not an easy test, right? So that makes it very difficult for us with our accountability rating when we're, the state has us competing with schools who don't have this population of kids, right? But I don't look at it like that. I just accept that that's part of our mission. That's part of who we are. It's in our DNA in Abilene ISD is to serve these kids. So, to me, the strategy for helping these kids be successful is, number one, having folks on staff who understand the needs of these kids and help them feel comfortable, feel loved, have a place to go and a person to talk to when they feel stressed, because it's a stressful thing to just be thrown into a brand new culture in a brand new country. So that's step one. One of the challenges I see is we have a bilingual program that is at one campus, and we're a big city. So we have families, and this bilingual program is Spanish to English bilingual, right? This bilingual program is at one campus, and we have families all over the city. It's a big city, so the transportation from all over the city to get to this one campus, that poses a big problem. It makes for really long bus routes. And so we have families who opt out of the bilingual program and will just put their kids in, ESL. We have ESL classes dispersed throughout the city, right? So figuring out a way to get bilingual programs in more than one school, geographically dispersed around the city, that's a big challenge that we're trying to figure out. The limitation there is, it's very, very hard to find bilingual teachers. There's more bilingual teacher openings in the state of Texas than there are certified bilingual teachers. And so that's a problem we haven't solved yet, but we're going to. We're wrestling with it. Another, strategy that we're employing is a newcomer center for our kids that are coming to us brand new from other countries. Another thing we're doing this year that I'm super excited about that I've had success with in previous school districts is we're going to have a multicultural festival. And it's going to be a big party where we celebrate these families, their kids. We help them have a sense of pride. They already have a sense of pride of where they're from, but we give them a platform to be who they are and show the great things that they bring with them from their culture and their country. And we give our city the opportunity to come out and celebrate these folks and say, you guys are our neighbors and we're happy to have you here. So I've done this in previous school districts where we had students perform and their parents get to come and take pictures and videos of their performances. And we play music and we sing songs and the kids do dances, and folks come and wear the clothing from their country, from their culture, and we just celebrate these kids and give them that opportunity to shine. And I'm super excited about that. That's going to be happening this spring. We're still figuring out what it's going to look like. I've done it in previous school districts as a block party. We had food trucks and bounce houses and face painting. We are talking about possibly doing it as a parade. We've done it before in a football stadium where we just had vendors come out and had a stage with a DJ. And so it's going to be really cool. Obviously Abilene ISD is going to put their stamp on it, so it's going to be particular to us. So I don't exactly know what it's going to look like, but I know this: we're going to shine a spotlight on this strength of our district, which is our embrace of these children who they need and deserve a quality education so that they can land on their feet. And in terms of the language barrier, we are actively hiring Swahili speakers. We have roles for them in our district, places where they can work, even as they're developing their own English as adults, right? And we actually have a graduate of Cooper High School who we've hired as an interpreter. We've got employees who speak 5 and 6 languages because in Africa sometimes they speak French, sometimes they speak Swahili, Kinyarwanda, and there are folks who speak, who come to us speaking 5 or 6 of these languages, and they're super needed here to help us communicate with not just the kids but their families.
And another hot topic surrounding school districts across the country is safety. And we've seen quite a few incidents just across the country this past school year of weapons on campus and different things like that. Now, I understand you're planning on adding some signage to campuses, basically stating that school marshals are armed and they're ready to defend the students. What kind of message do you hope that sign will send?
Yeah, I was actually really surprised we didn't already have that signage, because I think the vast majority of schools in the state of Texas who have a guardian program or a marshal program, they have that signage out. To me, it's a really important component of the program because it's a deterrent. We want people to know that we have a marshal program. And when I first got here, at first I thought Abilene didn't have a school marshal program or school guardian program. And then when I found out that we did, I started looking for those signs and I didn't see them, and I thought it was odd, personally, me. It's a very, in most of the parts of Texas, that's a very popular, it's something parents want. They want to know that their kids are safe. And, obviously we have school resource officers that work with us, that work for APD, and they keep our kids safe. But a school marshal program, it's not just give a teacher a gun and hope for the best. These are highly trained. They take 80 hours of training. They are constantly refining their skills with annual updates, and they go to the gun range and they shoot. And so they have to carry a certification. It's a very tightly controlled program, the school marshal program. And it's a state of Texas program. It's not a local thing. So what school marshals are is a force multiplier for the SROs. We can only afford a certain number of SROs. School marshals are already on the payroll, and so they get bonus pay, but it's not a brand new employee with all the costs that entails. So they essentially are a force multiplier that help keep us safe. But when you don't have the signs out and nobody knows you have that program, you're losing the deterrent effect of having them, because it's not widely known. I want it to be widely known that we do have school marshals. They are armed, and they will protect our kids with deadly force if necessary. And some people don't like the aggressiveness of that language. Some people aren't comfortable with that. But when I see the headlines, I'm the guy that has to go to bed at night. I'm the guy that the buck stops here. So if something terrible happens in our school district, I have to know that I've done everything I can do to keep our children safe. My dad was a firefighter, City of Dallas firefighter for 27 years. I grew up in an extremely safety-conscious home. We had a fire escape ladder on the side of our house, the only house in my town that had a fire escape ladder on it. We kept our batteries changed and our smoke detectors, you know what I'm saying? And so I've got safety baked in. A lot of people look at schools and they say our number one job is quality instruction. That's what we're here for, but our number one job is to keep kids safe. Parents send their kids on the school bus or drop their kids off, and they leave them for 8 hours with us, with teachers and principals, and we have to do everything in our power, everything in our capacity to make sure that those babies go home safe at the end of the day, every single day, day in and day out. We don't make compromises. We will never, as long as I'm here, we will never make compromises on student safety. And so I'm really happy that we have a school marshal program, and I want the world to know it. I want the world to know that if your child goes to Abilene ISD, we're going to take care of them. I agree with the folks who can be critical and say it's sad that we live in a world where we have to have folks armed at schools to keep kids safe. I agree with that completely, and I wish it wasn't that way. But hope is not a plan, So we're going to take care of our kids, and that's what that signage is about. That signage is just letting everyone know we're keeping your kids safe here,
And outside of the signage, are there any other safety measures or safety protocols you're hoping to include across the district?
Oh, there's a ton of safety protocols, and I'm not willing to talk about all of them because we don't always want the bad guys to know what we're doing. But I will tell you, we have bullet-resistant film in our glass. We have fencing that meets the height requirements and the scalability requirements that TEA has set forth. We have school resource officers who are armed. We have long gun cases in storage for our school resource officers because long guns are more accurate than pistols. We have AEDs if somebody has a heart attack. We have EpiPens if somebody has anaphylaxis. We have stair chairs for our 2-story buildings in case of a fire escape, so that if someone in a wheelchair needs to come down stairs because you can't ride an elevator in a fire, we can get them down. We have Stop the Bleed kits, and we have Stop the Bleed training. We have behavioral threat assessment teams who respond when a student makes an outcry that includes elements of homicidal ideation or suicidal ideation. We have crisis counseling available to kids when there's a situation that goes on. Our behavior threat team, it's really interesting, and this is developed in recent years, and this is mandated across the state, so it's not just us. Everybody is doing this, but Abilene ISD started doing it before they had to. They were early adopters. Behavior threat team will meet anytime a student makes an outcry or there's a comment that is of concern to a parent or a teacher or another student, and they will that student will meet with a counselor and answer questions that help the counselor get to a point of knowing, is this a high risk situation, is it a medium risk situation, or is it a low risk situation, and then based on that assessment, the next steps will be determined to ensure the safety of everyone involved. We also have anonymous reporting mechanisms on our website, so if anybody hears something or sees something, I think one of the big challenges that schools across the country face is when a student or parent hears about something that makes them concerned, they don't always report it, and that should never happen. If there's anything of concern, we want to be able to respond proactively and ensure the safety of all of our students, all of our staff, all of our visitors on our campuses. So that's the one thing I would ask, is that anytime a student hears another student say something of concern or knows of a student who is in possession of a weapon or or even talks about that be told to a trusted adult, so that the processes and procedures we have in place to address those things can be called into action and address it.
Lastly, I want to touch on your kind of 4-step plan of kind of getting the community involved and really focusing on what Abilene ISD needs. Can you walk me through some of those steps in that plan?
Yeah, so this is a super exciting time for me to be joining Abilene ISD, because we are looking toward the future, and that's the right thing to do. It all started in August with a conversation with 40 plus staff members to talk about the future and talk about what are your ideas, what are your thoughts, what do you see as the needs. We followed that up with a meeting with those same 40 plus staff members in addition to 40 plus community members, and we're continuing to have those meetings on a regular basis. So we've been doing that since August, and it's basically an opportunity for people to kind of brainstorm together, talk about what's working, what's not working, what they would like to see change, what they're hearing from their people that they talk to. And then the next step is we're doing a facilities assessment where we'll have an outside company, third party, come in and look at all of our buildings, which we have a lot of buildings. We have 2.8 million square feet of space. So they're going to assess every one of those 2.8 million square feet of space and help us understand not just the age of our building, but also the capacity, the remaining usable lifespan, the wear and tear on the buildings. Buildings are subject to different amounts of wear and tear depending on the grade level of the kids and what all activities you have in them. So ultimately, we'll get kind of a guide that helps us understand what is the remaining lifespan of our different facilities, which facilities are still in great shape and have many, many more years of usability, and which of our buildings are near the end of their lifespan and are either going to need to be remodeled extensively or shuttered. So that's going to be really important information for us to have as we look at the future. We're also in the works. We're also in the process of getting a demographic study done, so that we know what are the growth trends of population in Abilene, our student population, what is that looking like in the future, because we want to make sure we have the right number of facilities to serve the student population that we have. And so it's a really complex puzzle that we're trying to put together, but we don't just want to bump along and kind of hope for the best. We want to make concrete plans based on concrete information that is suitable for this community going forward. The next step, starting in November, is something we're calling Pathways to Possibility. I always get the plurals mixed up there. It's Pathways to Possibility. And what that is a listening tour. We're going to go to all 4 middle schools to kind of reach all 4 quadrants of the city, and we're going to listen to what the parents and the community members want. What are your hopes and dreams and goals and desires for the schools of Abilene ISD? Because we don't want to assume that we know. We want to make decisions based on feedback from the community. And then that will inform us as we decide, do we need more STEM academies, like what we're working on at Mann Middle School right now. We're working on a process to convert that into a STEM academy. Do we need language schools? Do we need leadership-focused schools? Do we need a school for girls and a school for boys? I mean, there's a lot of innovative approaches that you can adopt. And we're open to all of those, but we want to make sure it fits the wants, needs, and desires of the community. So the last step in that process will be based on all of this input. We want to craft a plan, a long-range plan that is very concrete, very comprehensive, that we present to the school board. And I don't know if that's going to be in December, January, February. It just depends on how the community listening tour goes and what we kind of get out of that. We'll put together a plan that is responsive to the input of our community, the input of our staff, the input of this committee that we've had going, that we can present to the board and say, look, this is kind of where we see the district going, moving forward.
All right, and how long will the plan, is it like a 5-year plan or is it TBD?
TBD. We don't know exactly right now, but we need something that guides our steps going forward. We have big decisions to make, and I think the school board knew it when they interviewed me. They were talking about there's big decisions and there's some big boulders that have to be moved, and some of the decisions will be tough decisions. You can't always find a win-win. Sometimes you have to make decisions that some people aren't going to like, and I'm going into this with my eyes wide open. I know there are going to be things that are potentially controversial as we reimagine the future of Abilene ISD, and the only thing I know to do is to try and make the best decision possible that makes the most people happy, but you can't please everybody. But I do think, based on my conversations with the school board from the very, very beginning of my time here, there is an appetite in Abilene to see innovation and transformation in our school district, and I've got the team around me that is completely capable of helping put together a plan that is the right fit for this community.
Okay, and are you hoping to have this plan out by the end of this school year?
Absolutely, I hope so. I don't guarantee it, but I definitely hope by the end of the school year we have kind of marching orders for the district going forward. And then it's really fun right now listening and daydreaming and thinking and listening to different people's ideas and running that through my brain of like, okay, how would that look, but it's also going to be fun to put the plan together. It's also going to be fun to gauge the reaction to the plan, and then the really fun part's going to be implementing things, and we already get to do that right now, like the MAN process. This year is the planning phase at MAN. Next year is the implementation phase, so we're going to get to see MAN transform right in front of our eyes from a traditional middle school campus to a STEM academy model. And then we're going to follow that up. We're having conversations right now about having another STEM academy middle school on the other side of town, so that there's equitable access to these innovative ideas. And that's one of the guiding things I think in my mind is whatever we do, it has to be equitable. It has to be to where the entire city has access to these things that parents want. I mean, it really comes down to giving parents a lot of choices. And so one of the really tough things to figure out is how to go from a school where if you live in this attendance zone, this is your elementary, and that's where you go, to a school where parents have more options. If you live here, you have choice of these elementaries. And we already do that a little bit with the Center for Innovation, the magnet school at McMurray. You can live anywhere in the city, I believe, and you have access to that. So Abilene ISD has already done some of that, but we're fixing to do a whole lot more of that, I think.
All right, well, those are all my questions. Is there anything else I missed or something else that you want to add in there?
Would you like to see a copy of the sign that we're going to be putting up?
Yes.
We can put it on the screen if you want to take a picture of it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Give you a little more content.